Hello, and welcome to our fourth and final discussion on our four-part series of videos from Fluid Power World and the experts from Tribute as we delve into best practices for industrial distribution. I'm Mary Gannon, editor of Fluid Power World, and I'm joined by Bill Horrigan, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Tribute. For our final chat, Bill is going to offer some advice on specifically the hose distribution businesses. If you were to start your own hose distribution business today, Bill, what are some of the subtle things you should consider to ensure practices are efficient and well run, particularly when it comes to how an ERP system can help?
Well, this is the topic I was most excited about, because if I was starting a business today, having been in over 1,600 distributors and seeing what I've seen, I think I could do this thing from scratch and have a world-class hose distributor. And it's real simple. They're basic things that anybody can do today. First and foremost, if you're in the hose business, if you haven't implemented lock control, for example, this is key. If I called your business right now and said, I need 27 feet of this acid chemical hose or this suction hose, you're going to look up at your ERP system. Your ERP system is going to say there's 680 feet. I can guarantee you there's not one piece that's 680 feet long. There's going to be a 110-footer and a 7-footer and a 9-footer. So you can't in good conscience tell the customer you have that piece of hose.
Right.
And I can tell you 99% of the distributors out there are either A, putting them on hold yelling to the back seeing if they got it, B, putting them on hold and running back there to see if they got it, or C, they're calling back there saying, hey, Joe, do we have a piece long enough? And there's, again, any good ERP system will have this utility where at the time of receiving, when you receive the hose in, it'll ask you how many reels, how much feet is on each reel. And by doing that, it now gives the CSRs the visibility when they're talking to a customer saying, yes, I have that with confidence. So they're making a good representation of their business. The customer experience is better. So something as small as that, just doing that, will have a profound impact. And then taking it a step further, if you don't have it, there are really good systems out there like Warehouse 2. It's a web portal service where you can share your inventory with other common distributors. And so if I did look it up and I didn't have it, I can just click a button, look through the Warehouse 2 portal, right in the middle of your ERP system. You can see other distributors that are in the area that have it, and you can acquire it right then and bring it in. So having the visibility both into your inventory and to other distributors' inventory would be make a big difference on people as far as the way they take care of their customers.
Absolutely. It's just a very open way and very quick, so you're getting those answers to your customer on the phone a lot faster than running back to the shop, like you said.
Exactly.
So over the years, what's the biggest pet peeve that you've kind of gotten into in the hose shops that you visited?
First and foremost, it drives me crazy that anybody that builds a hose and sells it to somebody, if they don't put their label on it, I just can't even comprehend that, because that hose will fail, right? And when it does, the first thing that person's going to do, if there's no hose on it, they're going to Google it, right? Where can I find this hose?
Right.
But if you put a label on it with your logo, your phone number, your website, whatever, that's who they're going to go to first. Just common sense. And they make special Mylar labels you can put on your hose that'll withstand heat and cold, basic stuff like that. Another thing is, we talked about it earlier, the FIFO as far as managing your inventory. Hose will go bad if it sits long enough. And if you have a bunch of reels of hose and you neglect one that sits way in the back, eventually it's going to go bad. So having a system that can manage it first in, first out is critical. And then from a profitability standpoint, you need a system that can handle cut lengths. When you go to sell a hose to somebody, they're going to ask you for 25-inch overall length hose for a machine, right? Everybody knows in this industry that they're going to there's actually a cut length, because the end fittings take up a certain diameter or a certain length. So if I sell 25 inches, most likely I'm going to cut 21 and a half inches. I'm going to want to charge the customer the full 25, but I only want to deduct from inventory the 21 and a half inches or whatever it is. So that's critical to the bottom line, because two things are occurring. One is I want to charge them for the overall length, but I want to make sure I manage the inventory correctly. So you need a system that can handle that. That's critical. And then just the ability to build a hose assembly. It's very complex. It's an engineered product. So you want a system that's consistent, where you can actually just say, okay, ma'am or sir, what do you need? The size of the fitting, size of the second fitting, the hose type. Do you need an elbow? Do you need a flared fitting? Do you need a 90 degree, a 40? You need something where everybody's consistently asking the same question, and the system should be able to build the assembly, relieve the inventory, add labor automatically. I can tell you, I would say probably half the distributors out there aren't including labor in their hoses. So they're kidding themselves when they look at their profitability reports because they have labor and burden, these overheads that should be included in these assemblies. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. So again, having these kind of tools would really make a difference, both on the customer experience side and then on the distributor side from a profitability standpoint.
It's interesting to me what you said about the orders. Is there anything else that like people should really be taking into consideration when they're building out like almost an invoice form, how they should be getting the specific information in there?
You know, going back to what I just said, a good system would allow you to enter segment by segment, so it'll keep track of that. And then you want the system so you're not repetitively just guessing on labor. I'm going to go back to that and burden. A good system, what it would do, it would calculate the labor based on the length of the hose and the diameter of the fitting. As the hose gets longer and bigger in diameter, it takes more resources. It might take 2 people, it might take a tow motor. So you need to capture all those costs. And so you want a system that can accommodate that. It's really critical. A big thing is workflow instructions, crimp spec instructions. The software should be able to generate to the shop when I place that order 2 things: the workflow, how to pull the inventory, where to pull it from, what crimper to use, what die settings. You should have a system that has all that. So when you're hiring new people on board, especially like when you get summer help, you can literally give them this document and they can actually build that assembly without having to go to somebody for every single hose. And also the ability to attach pictures and drawings as well. If it's a complex hose assembly going into power gen plant or something like that, you might want to take pictures of that stuff. So if it does fail out there, you can visually see what you had sold them. So the ability to link drawings or pictures is key. And just in a basic thing, just be able to copy one hose to another hose, for example. Somebody might repetitively order the same hose, but different lengths. So you should be able to just hit a button and copy it, or be able to change the end length configurator and build that assembly again without having to start all over and entering all the components.
What about kits and things like that? How can that come into play with best practices?
Good question. So there's a lot of big OEMs that will use an example. Cummins ends, they'll send a driver to a distributor every day at 2 o'clock to pick up a bunch of hoses. So you'll need a system where you can create, for example, their part number and have underneath that multiple hose assemblies. So it's like a kit within a kit. So you need ability to manage that and have all these hose assemblies underneath one parent number, and still going back to be able to have a documentation where you actually can pull the part just one time for all the hoses, so you're not, again, like we talked about earlier, running around the shop looking for the inventory. So again, it all ties together.
It almost sounds like too, like you need a good work center too, to kind of make sure that you have everything in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, if I were doing it from scratch, I would have work centers. I would say, okay, pull the inventory, take it to step 1 where you go crimp it. Then take it over to step 2 and you put your label on it, or you serialize it. Step 3 would be the testing area. This way, it'll flow through the shop. So if somebody calls and says, hey, where's the status of my order? You should be able to go to like a work order status screen and look and say, oh, it's being tested. I'll have it done in a half hour. So that kind of visibility into your business makes a big difference.
It sounds like that's the kind of business I'd want to do business with if I was in the market for some hydraulic hose assemblies. So thank you again, Bill, for your advice today on hose distribution and throughout this whole series.
I've enjoyed it very much.
So please be sure to watch this entire series at tribute.com and also at fluidpowerworld.com. And as always, thank you for watching.